What I think is amazing about ceramics is that there are so many different processes and techniques that you can use, and to make the same type of thing or different types of things. I mean, you've got a unique process, I think, in your...
Yeah, I guess so, and it came about through experimenting, because I knew I wanted to work with text in ceramics, and I tried all sorts of different techniques. So I tried carving it, I tried inscribing it, I tried raised text, which is one of the processes I ended up with. And so the raised text is where I make a form, whether it's a sphere, which was one of the original shapes, or a sort of pebble shape, and I write on it with something like latex, and then I sponge it back, and the latex stays, and it stays raised, and the water erodes the clay around it, so you end up with this lovely texture that is in fact text.
Amazing, amazing. Do you then take the latex off before you fire it? You have to do that,
yes.
don't you?
You can leave it on, but it does leave a residue, so it's better to take it off. Yes. And sometimes I'll erode it and erode it and erode it until there's holes in the form.
Oh gosh.
Which ends up quite fun.
Oh,
I think.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
So really like a found object somewhere on the beach or in the garden, or...
Yes. Yeah. I do like that idea about the words being found. Yeah.
But then this is different again, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. So the other strand, which is a lot of what I do now, is I actually write with slip. So I started out using earthenware and making up a very thick slip and extruding it through a tube. So I'm pushing quite hard and using my own handwriting, which is again the thing I want to do, and making wall plaques. And they were all white to start with, and I mean there's some here where I've actually created a background in ink and offset them so that you get the shadows, which is what I like. But then I switched from earthenware to porcelain because I found I could create a much finer script, and it was a bit more legible, but it was also a lot tougher. And then from there I could actually make shapes.
Amazing.
Rather than flat. So so that's where the 3D shapes came from, with porcelain, in fact. And I fire them in a former, and if I'm going to glaze them, so some of them are glazed like this, then I'll actually glaze it when it's leather hard and do one process firing. So
and that's porcelain, that one, is it?
That one is,
it's amazingly delicate.
Yes.
And yet so strong.
Very thin, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I never think it was strong.
No. So those are the two things. I mean, what I'm developing at the moment is I've actually gone back to thicker clays because I'm looking at outdoor pieces. So I'm using stoneware and grogged clay and some paper clay stoneware, so that I can actually make much bigger shapes, but they should be hopefully things you can put in the garden. So. Yeah, but I love that experimentation with materials.
It's good fun, actually. Yeah, I like that too. And so Sally, you are a grog merchant, aren't you? Quite often.
Yes. Grog clay is lovely to work with, and I prefer to use coils. It's just very slow, but very flexible, so I can change my mind about the shape. Start off with the shape in mind, but at any moment then I can change it, which I always do, adapt it at different heights, and always wait until I get up to the neck and then decide what top to do. It's important to me the top was. So mostly I use crank, which is very easy to work with, but the same applies with the ironstone. I still coil, and again coiling lends itself to changing the shape, adapting it. Unless I want to make a precise shape like that, when I use slabs,
That must be quite difficult to join those corners
It is. Yes, because they have to be quite soft at that stage, and you're sort of getting through.
But then they could collapse if they're quite soft.
Exactly, it's got to be just right.
Yeah.
Yes, if they're too soft or too hard, it's very difficult. And I've made bigger ones too, which are even more difficult to do. But it's a challenge. I like a challenge. And for things like this, which I coil the bottom, but then to make the skirt, I had to use slabs, obviously, to make the little skirt on that. So I use either. But with quad you can make really large pots too, and ones that will go outside.
Which is lovely, actually, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think that's where you can see all the years you've spent, all the experience comes in, isn't it? Making those large shapes and making those decisions as well about what neck to put on it, because that's a feeling thing as well as
it
a
is
process
a
thing.
yes. And obviously, often the pot that ends up isn't anything like the one I planned.
Oh,
But,
really?
I don't mind that,
Yeah.
unless it's a complete disaster. But,
Well, we all have those.
Yeah.
But I suppose, so you're making a decision really, because that sort of gives it's the thing, its complete character, doesn't it?
Yes, well, when I first started potting, I found I got bored with just a pot shape, and I wanted the top to sort of make the pot.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so I always spend some time deciding
Yeah.
what
Oh, that's
to do.
interesting.
Oh, that's nice. Well, mine's technique is different again because I throw, but I also hand build now. I haven't been doing much, and I don't coil. So what I was trying to do, for example, is I found this in the log basket, which I think I've told you before, and I thought it'd make a great pot. So I tried to throw a cylinder that would do the job, and it didn't work, and it looked too heavy and clumsy. So then I tried slab building a cylinder shape, and that didn't work either. And so I decided then actually I didn't really want a whole shape, because what I wanted to do was to get the texture of the bark was the important thing, and the flakiness of the material as it comes off the silver birch tree. And so that was the important thing, much more than the form, although I did want the form to reflect it too. So what I did is I rolled a slab, and then I pulled it and squeezed it and stretched it until it was really quite thin, just to get these textures in it. And the more you pull it, the more it splits. And so then you end up with, I don't know if this one's got many splits in it, but you do end up with the splits and the texture coming into it. So that was really my main thing for doing it. But obviously it's very fragile until it's bisque fired. And then this is a bisque fired piece. And then it's much tougher. And then I glaze the inside with this dark glaze here. And then I fire it at 1260. So it's really quite strong by the time I've finished the whole process of it. And that's much more of I think in a way, a process than the throwing, which I've done with these cylinders. But then with that, what I wanted to do was just to have the form as simple as possible, because it was the colour of the glaze that I really wanted to draw attention to, rather than anything else, the shape or anything.
But with these, you're actually, it's a very controlled process, and it's a controlled shape. Whereas with these, I imagine you're not quite sure what's going to happen, are you?
Well, you're not quite sure, because when you fire them, and I've made bigger pieces than this, because it's really quite thin and it's taller, it can move quite a lot in the kiln. So you think you know what you're going to get out, but often it's not quite. So you can't control it in the same way you can with that. And actually, also, I didn't want it to be controlled, because if you think about a tree, and particularly the silver birch, which sheds so much of its bark like this, that's not controlled, is it? It's flaky and gnarly and wafty, and so I wanted to get that feeling into the piece as well. So
it's so like yours.
Thank you. But I mean, it is amazing that we're all doing completely different things.
And we've all developed techniques that actually suit the ideas that we start with and the ways that we like to work.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, you develop the process and the material in one go in some ways.
I think it's also quite nice to have a different set of skills for the techniques as well. So the throwing, the coiling, the hand building, the slip writing, because actually it keeps you interested and you can make different. You're not making the same old thing time and again.